And he straight up just gives me the code word for the aspect of Lucifer.
Yeah.
Someone comes up to me, I don't remember who it is, but I have some kind of obligation that needs to be taken care of.
Right.
So I quit out of the game.
Okay.
I start the game up again and I don't have it.
Uh-oh.
And I start the thing up again, Zeus pops up, but he doesn't give me the goddamn passcode.
Oh. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Autumn Colors Podcast, the podcast where there is no escape. I'm your host, the boatman for this hour, the Artstation. Today I'm joined with the goddess of axes and tending to cats, Dooms.
Hey.
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about Hades. Now, this is a game, I forget if... I think you actually introduced me to this, but this is a game that, it has been around for a long while. I think it got really, incredibly popular in 2020s, but this is, ultimately a game I think both of us, just love the hell out of.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorites.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about this, but first things first, definitely, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright, just, fixed my AC and having some water because it's 100 freaking degrees and 200% humidity down here in Florida.
Wow. Personally for me, I'm doing alright. I'm in the middle of trying to figure out my financial situation and readjusting my resume, all that stuff.
Well, I hope that financial situation gets sorted.
I hope so too, honestly. Don't know too much, but I am having people help me, so that at least is a plus. But yeah.
That's always good. Small talk.
It's nice once in a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and on that note, I think we can go into Hades. I mean, I think we're curious, it's just more so, how'd you hear about it?
Let me see. I saw the trailers. I had heard that it had released in early access.
Mm-hmm.
And I resisted getting it for a while. And then everybody was talking about it. It was all over YouTube. It was everywhere. And finally I say, all right, I'll give it a shot. See if I'm not just depriving myself of some hidden gem. And it turned out I was depriving myself of a hidden gem. And I just kept playing it.
Personally for me, it's, like I said, I think you introduced me to it, but I mean, this has been sort of this, a game that has, I guess in a lot of ways, just sort of, fell under the radar for me, because on one hand, I was, because on one hand, I think I was definitely in the middle of school around the time when this was a major talk, so I wasn't really paying much attention, but also, on the other hand, again, it's just I don't know, with my financial situation and everything, I just didn't really think that, there were many video games I was going to be focused on, because, when 2020 hit...
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But when 2020 hit, is a lot going on, obviously, but there was, one thing I was hearing most about was, so many people talking about, oh man, these are good games to get into, these are good games, people were talking about Animal Crossing, Doom, Cyberpunk 2077, and also Hades, and it was just well, fuck, it's just I want to have a distraction, but I don't know where to go. And then when I started getting to Hades, it was at this point, I had never played a roguelike like this before. I'd never even heard of. I might have heard about it, but I've never really like delved into like Supergiant in terms of being a company or anything. But when I played it, I was just like, it just impressed me. Just this game getting into it, there was something about it. Like I was losing, but at the same time, this game was like, I think it's kind of reminded me of my time playing Dark Souls, and just like when I played Dark Souls for the first time, like it was interesting, it was entertaining, but it was just like it was something that I just could not bring myself to really get into. And then I played Hades. It gave me that same vibe of just a world that's essentially built up to make sure that you die, but at the same time, with the way it was handled, with everything that it was going on and everything, just how it played itself off, it just made me really want to play more into it, really get interested into it more.
I mean, I can see that. I don't play Souls games, so the expectation of dying, like Hades is basically my second roguelike. My first is, of course, my first love, The Binding of Isaac.
Okay.
But it's a very different vibe when you go from a roguelike to a roguelite. But Hades just instantly clicked with this very smooth movement, very nice combat that felt good. And even though I was getting my ass kicked, the combat was good enough that I really didn't mind.
Yeah, and I think like, because I aside from Dark Souls, I have played a few different Souls-like games. Like I've played Shatter, Tales of the Broken King, I think is what it's called, and Kenna Bridge of Spirits. I've played those games, and ultimately, I think. Like, I know it's an unfair comparison, but essentially this is a game that enforces, like, a tough difficulty on you and tells you, hey, get good. But I think, at the end of the day, it was just, like, what puts, for me, personally, Hades above those other games is just... Honestly, it is just the fact of it being, like... I think it's the fact of, like, the death not feeling like everything is wasted. Like, dying in Hades is, in its own way, canon. Like, you're supposed to die. You're supposed to fail. And the game rewards you like, okay, go back to this one place, gather your thoughts and go, alright, let's try something different. I think I really like that, as opposed to Dark Souls, which felt more of, like, I guess in its own way, a classical idea of difficulty, where it's just like, yep, game over, try again. And it feeling sort of like, alright, that it felt sort of like my time playing that in its own way was wasted on some level.
Yeah.
I guess that's how I feel about, like, Souls-like games, is that, like, I like the fact that the games go for more harder difficulty, but it's just, like, the idea of my time and whatnot being wasted feels, I don't know, it feels bad for me.
Yeah. Like, that's the biggest thing about a roguelike, and you have to make sure that the player's time isn't wasted. Hades does that greatly by not just having one thing or another, but by having a whole bunch of things.
Yes.
Like, let me compare to a different game that was in early access for a while. Have a Nice Death. Do you know that game?
Yes.
Okay. So the biggest gist of it is, the only thing that you carry over in between runs is this currency that you use to buy new items.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like having one thing to keep track of in between runs just isn't good enough. You need more, and Hades gives you more.
Yes.
Like, the characters in Have a Nice Death are written very well for what the game is. But it's also like, you just walk up to them and talk to them, and then next run you talk to them again. Nothing is really ventured or gained, and it feels like when you're talking to these people, it's kind of random when they give you new little tidbits of lore or whatever.
Yeah.
Contrast with Hades, where you're constantly earning new things, learning new things. Not just about the combat, but about the characters and items and everything like that.
Yeah, it's so much like there's so much like love put into the encouragement of failure where it's just like I feel like you would just be missing out on so much of it if you were to just be one of those guys where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna play through Hades for the first time and beat it without any continues or any revives or whatever. It's just like I like this game is just like it feels legitimately like it doesn't just want you to learn from your failures, it encourages it. And by doing so, it also adds in like special content for even if you succeed, even if you fail, you still get to come back, but more so you get a lot more content from failure. And I really like that.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, it's almost like you start looking forward to dying.
Yeah.
Like, you're obviously like, oh man, I don't want to die. I'm getting farther and farther. And then you die and it's like, well, shucky darn, I guess I'll just have to go bug dad and pet the dog.
Yeah, it's just like it kind of feels like that Ghostbusters moments where it's like, let's see what happens when we take away the puppy. But yeah. Yeah, I would say ultimately, it's really interesting because it ties into that. It's just the fact of like, I guess I know it's sort of like not really a unpopular opinion on some sorts, but it's just like there is a legitimate discussion to be had with Hades and how it handles its playtime and story compared to other games nowadays that try to essentially emulate that same feeling without really understanding how to actually capture it.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, I know this is getting more into the AAA space and live service games and microtransactions, yada yada yada, that bullshit. But there is legitimate story to be had with how Hades 2 essentially has arguably hundreds and maybe even thousands of hours of game time put into it. And compared to stuff like, I don't know, fucking Valorant or fucking Apex, whatever, like all these different live service games that every single update, every single big patch is just like, yeah, we've added all this new content, we've added all these new elements, we've added this new character, we've added this new story, we've added these new accessories, so on and so forth. And it's just like, Hades, it feels legitimately kind of, it, I guess in a sense, what I'm trying to get at is that Hades feels like a complete package out of the box. Like, it feels like instead of going the long route of, hey, we're making this game as you play it, and we're gonna be adding all this stuff as we go. And no, instead it feels like everything is packed in, which is interesting because that's what I just said is exactly how this game got popular and exactly how this game got big and everything, is that it was on early access. It went down that approach of, yeah, we have this content, but we're also adding more content, we're changing content, we're removing content, we're adding new content, so on and so forth. And it's really interesting, and it's just like, I honestly, like, I think at the end of the day, it feels legitimately like they are not, with Hades, they didn't pull anything. They pulled out all the stops. They legitimately wanted to make a complete game and want people wanting more the right way. Like, at the end of the day, it feels like with the difficulty and encouraging failure, it felt like my time wasn't wasted. With the story and how much content there is, it felt like my money wasn't wasted.
Yeah. Forgive my ineloquence.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the game is constantly trying to teach you things, and even after you get the hang of the game, it's still trying to teach you, okay, here's this. Hey, and even something as small as a character quirk.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say more. I'm having some.
No, it's perfectly fine. I have that trouble too. But yeah, like I would say again with the content, it's just like at first it just starts off with, oh, Zagreus is escaping the House of Hades. Oh, he has to face against Hades himself. Oh, he has to like talk to his mom and everything. But if it was just that, I would say maybe personally, if it was just that, the story might have gotten boring, the gameplay might have gotten a little. I think it still would have been enjoyable, but I don't think it would have been replayed as much as it is. But no, instead we have we have Sisyphus and Zagreus talking to him. We have Patroclus and his sort of torn up relationship with Achilles, and then we also have Eurydice, I believe is her name, and Orpheus, and we there's these little touches, this content that above all else, like on one hand, yes, some of this content gives you rewards for going and interacting with it, sure, but above all else, it is stuff that genuinely, when you really think about it, doesn't matter. But I think that's what's great about it. It doesn't matter. It is genuinely player choice.
Yeah. You're free to engage with the game as much or as little as you like.
Yeah, and it feels like... in some way, it feels like there is... It legitimately feels like, in its own way, like... I guess essentially it goes back to the whole player choice thing, where it's just like, it feels like, you know, the main story feels intertwined with all this little content. Like, in order to be able to finally get to the end, the true ending of the game, you have to beat or die to Hades a number of times. You have to closen your relationships with all these different gods and goddesses. You have to get further and further and further in. Like, it feels legitimately like if you want to get to the ending of this game, you're gonna have to just basically fuck around and find out. There's no real other way to say it. But honestly, it's just like, I would 100% say is just, with how this game handles it, it is definitely beautiful. But I think there's a testament to how, like, it feels in its own way, I guess, like, one of those stories where it feels like every single little detail, every single thing, it has a story to it or a backstory to it, so on and so forth. But in something like, I guess, a television show or a movie, it would feel like padding for time, or just like stuff that really doesn't need to be explored. But the fact that this has a benefit by being a game and player choice, this actually feels legitimately like... It legitimately feels like, yeah, you want to learn more about that stuff. Like, if you weren't able to explore more through this game, you wouldn't be able to hear certain details, like how Persephone is Demeter's daughter, or how essentially Nyx kind of came in as sort of a stepmother figure, or even the stuff like, I guess... even stuff like, you know, sort of breaking certain pacts or punishments that Hades sort of imposed on other people, or just like the stuff with Sisyphus and being tormented by Megara and her sisters, the Fury sisters, and sort of finding how to sort of lighten that load in a way.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many little details. I am 100% convinced, even after beating it, I have not seen or explored everything, and that's what I love about it. It's just coming back to it, going like, okay, what else is there to do? What else can I do?
I feel like that's very similar to what I want to do. I stopped playing. I have like 81 hours in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still haven't like bailed out Sisyphus. I still haven't helped out Achilles. In fact, there's a shit ton of stuff. Let me take a look here. No, okay, that's about the only two big things I haven't done.
Okay.
But I don't know, there's still so much to see, so much dialogue to get out of this. Yeah. So much to learn about these characters and love them even more.
Yeah. Oh my god, we haven't even talked about what they add to the weapons. Like, the fact that like actually having some conversations, interactions at a time leads you to actually unlocking hidden aspects of the weapons. Like, I love that so much.
Oh god, I actually have a story about this.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so I'm playing the game,
mm-hmm.
and I start off with Zeus.
Right.
And he straight up just gives me the code word for the aspect of Lucifer.
Yeah.
Someone comes up to me. I don't remember who it is, but I have some kind of obligation that needs to be taken care of.
Right.
So I quit out of the game.
Okay.
I start the game up again and I don't have it.
Uh-oh.
And I start the thing up again, Zeus pops up, but he doesn't give me the goddamn passcode.
Oh. Oh, man.
And Jesus Christ, I was so mad. I maxed out his keepsake, just going, gimme.
Just nothing. Oh, man. Yeah. And it is really interesting. It's just like, I think the aspects of the weapons and whatnot are like actually like really interesting, just because this is, I think, certainly where we sort of, because I think every weapon in different aspect and of them has like some level or tie to Greek mythology, like the bow of Hera or the blade of Nemesis and so on and so forth, or the shield of Zeus. And then you get to the hidden aspects, and like, no, we are getting into different territory. Like, you have the sword of, you have the sword of, I believe, King Arthur, which is just Excalibur. You have the aspect of Guan Yu. You have the aspect of Lucifer. You have the aspect of Beowulf. Like, you have these different, like, they feel like Easter eggs at this point, honestly.
My personal favorites are the aspects.
Oh, sorry, you cut out.
Sorry, that's my brother. He coughed.
Oh, okay.
My two favorites are the aspect of King Arthur and the big furry mittens, the aspect of Gilgamesh.
Me personally, I think I like the definitely the gauntlets, the fairy gauntlets. They're really fun, and also they add so many more dashes that adding it to like Hermes' build of like you can dash more just made me feel so good.
Yeah.
But next to that, I think it would have to be the mitts. But also, I think I personally like the Spear of Guan Yu, mainly because of how much more of a challenge it imposes. Like, because it lets you regenerate health, but it also cuts down your health. I think I really like that aspect, and it also made me, in its own way, change up my playstyle and everything. And I don't know, I kind of feel like it feels like a pro and con type deal where it felt more interesting, but it felt interesting to play with it. And I don't know, it's just like I think I legitimately liked using it, and also it was just kind of fun to get, say, like Demeter's like attack of like, yeah, every time you attack you get chill, and then just throwing it like a frisbee and then just seeing all the enemies just freeze. It's just like, I don't know, there was something cool about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's so much to talk about, and like also it's just, and it just adds to more and more and more. Like, we haven't even talked about like the Pact of Punishment yet, and like the different like added difficulties you can impose on yourself. Like, I was already impressed by the game's like difficulty, because it's already hard. Even with, that's the thing too, even with its supposed easy mode of God mode, no, you can absolutely still die. You can absolutely still eat dirt. Like,
the funny thing is, I do play with God mode.
Yeah, same here.
And I do still die.
Yeah. And even more so with the Pact of Punishment, like the fact that normal mode on with God mode is still, you're still capable of dying. Pact of Punishment goes like, that doesn't mean anything. Like,
yeah,
it is. I think the most impressive thing with the Pact of Punishment is just like how much gets added. Like, I think for Lerny, the Bone Hydra, it's not as noticeable because it's just more spots not to actually step into for being lava. So it's not really too noticeable. But for the Bowl of Minos and everything, and the Fury Sisters, you can really tell that the difficulty ups. And then there's also, again, max Pact of Punishment for Hades, adds in an entirely third set, and oh my god, just a new version of the final boss theme added into as well. It's just the fact that this, oh my god, just I love that so much that this game actually hides away content if you just decide it hides away content if you don't decide to actually go more hard on this. Like that is really ingenious.
I actually set myself up perfectly. I actually set it up so that my final run through the game, where I got the epilogue ending,
yeah,
I cranked extreme measures all the way to the top.
Oh wow!
Just like if it's happening with a bang, and I just barely got past third phase Hades.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh man, that like I didn't like because I when I usually like a game so much, I like to look up the music, which we can really get into, and I'll look it up on YouTube, and it's just like I'll hear like just God of the Dead, and there are people talking about, oh man, like Cerberus when he comes in, it's just like, wait, what? Wait, Cerberus is in the battle? You can fight Cerberus? I didn't know that. Switch over to Pact of Punishment. Oh! Now I get it.
I was freaking terrified. I'm just playing around. He's like, okay, he's faster, he's stronger. It's perfectly fine. And then I just hear Cerberus. I'm like, oh hell no! He's using the stuffed toys.
Oh god, he's invincible, and he sends a rock shower. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Sorry, Sony is looking at something funny.
What was that perfect timing?
It is.
Oh man.
It's just like, for all you girls out there, we have keychains with pictures of men in them. These men are handsome and they're in our keychains. Men! Or you could put a picture of your boyfriend in there. Who cares?
That reminds me so much of a joke I heard. Like, I think it was on a podcast where they were talking about pride and everything. And I think, I forget who. Oh, it was Jesse Nowak who came out as a trans man. And he was like, yeah, here at Team 4-Star, we believe trans women are women, and that's why they need to get the fuck out!
But back to Hades.
Back to Hades.
Like, one thing that gets me about Hades,
yes,
is every single aspect of every single weapon. Man, even if it's something incredibly small,
yeah,
they feel distinct. Like, even with the same base moveset, except for the, like, hidden aspects, which are just fucking buck wild.
Yeah.
But, every single one of them feels good and feels different, because each one is like, okay, this one makes it so that enemies are, like, I think it was Hestia, her aspect for the fist. It's like your thing is now magnetic and pulls enemies in when you do an uppercut. That makes you play so much differently. And then it's like there's these other ones where you do a certain amount of hits, you start attacking faster and hitting harder. And then there's the freaking... then there's the Gilgamesh aspect, which is just fucking bananas.
Yeah.
But every single one of them feels distinct with just the tiniest tweak.
Yeah, honestly.
And I...
Like, I would say, like... I don't know how many people personally like the bow weapon, but it's just, like, my time exploring with a bow weapon is really interesting. And...
Sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. Like, legit, I mean... I think it's just the satisfaction of just... seeing so much of... I think it's the satisfaction of, like, the animations they use, because, like, with the Bow of Artemis, you hit an enemy, you lock on, you hit the special, and all of those arrows just spiral into the enemy, and it's just, like, that's kind of cool.
That's not Artemis.
Oh, fuck, who's that then?
That's Chiron.
Chiron, sorry.
With an N. And... That is actually my favorite aspect. I actually don't really like any other aspect of the bow. I'm just not a bow guy.
Yeah,
I don't like standing.
I get that 100%.
Yeah, but like Chiron absolutely wrecks face. it always has a space in my arsenal.
Yeah. The Bow of Hera, I think, is like it's kind of that thing where it's like it was fun for this long and then it was just work because Bow of Hera, you get to mark other enemies. Okay, that's cool. Use the special. Oh, it just deals all that damage to everyone. And I mean, if you're dealing with annoying enemies, sure, it can be enjoyable. But if you're like,
If you're bossing, it's not really worth
it's
it.
not really worth it.
And that will bring me into something with Hades too, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I mean, there's also more stuff. Like, I mean, again, there's just so much that we had to talk about. We haven't talked about chaos.
Oh
Like,
man, chaos. Well, where to even begin? Like, well, let's just start with the actual gods. Like, let's just start from there.
yeah, like,
Every god is fully realized. They have incredibly interesting boons and things to tell you, and just really little character moments that are really great.
yeah,
And they even kind of reference a few like actual mythological stuff, kind of like how Dionysus is the god of partying and wine, so he gets along with everybody because who doesn't love a good glass of wine?
yeah.
But like, and the designs don't even get me
Oh
started.
God, like, are you serious?
Even ignoring the fact that it was like, this is Greek mythology, we have to make everyone hot or it's not Greek enough. There's just something about every design. Like, I think about the guy who does Penny Arcade, the artist, Microhulic,
Mhm.
Gabe in terms. He was playing the game, and this is the actual comic they wrote about it. It was like the writer is like, I can't really see art. Is it good? And it's like, it's very, very good. Let me put it this way. If I drew even one of these characters, I would retire immediately. And if I ever regret it, even for a second, I would think back on that thing I made and smile. Like, that's how good the art direction is in
Yeah.
Hades.
Like, oh my God, I absolutely love the art direction, and usually, like, I'm a fan of like major character design and everything, and it's just like, but for how I guess little the enemies are, or the enemies and the characters are in this, like even then, like the world that the Hades like throws you in feels legitimately like vibrant. It feels vibrant. It feels full of color and sometimes lack of color. Like Tartarus has a lot of these more darker, muted colors. Asphodel is just throws you into all these orange and reds, and then Elysium has more of these blues and greens. Then you get back to like the Gates of Hades, where it has more of a similar color palette to Tartarus, and then you get to Greece, where it's just nothing but white.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's just so well done. Like I love just the attention to detail, the attention to detail, the amount of time this must have taken. It is so beautiful. It's just like I have to remind myself that I have to remind myself that a lot of these are just like still arts with some slight animations, because this feels like legitimately in its way a 2.5D world that's just fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I could get into a full conversation about just breaking down like just one area of Hades and just breaking down every little detail and the perspectives and whatnot. I could get into that so much.
Oh yeah. But I'm not really like an artist. I'm a hobbyist.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can say that Hades is really, 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 really good in terms of art direction.
Yeah.
I have not seen a game this well put together art in terms of artistic talent since Okami.
Yeah, honestly. like in terms of video games, I would say a big important feature for art direction is not necessarily as much as how good it looks or how stylistic it looks. In terms of gameplay, it's about visual clarity, and this game has visual clarity. Like there is even like in like vibrant colors like this, the enemies never really feel like they fade into the background or that they're hard to see. No, every enemy is on the screen moving in some capacity, and and it's just like if they're supposed to die, it's just like yeah, it's clear to see that.
Yeah. Now let me see.
Yeah. Then there's also again, there's also with Chaos, who anytime I look at Chaos, I think of that quote from Adventure Time with the Lich, where it's just like before before time,
Before there was
time, before there was space, there was nothing, and before there was nothing, there were monsters.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting to have just an entity before everything, just not even like a god of anything or primordial. It's just a being of origin essentially.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's basically Nyx's mom is, I think that adds a like again a layer of content to it, because you get to the game also lets you at some point patch up the relationship with Nyx and Chaos, and that's really interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, oh man, it's just oh god, like in terms of the characters, we haven't even talked about like the voice acting, or sometimes I would even say like lack of casting, because there's I think there's a like remarkably like not a lot of people who actually played the characters, but it's just the range.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like just I sometimes I have to forget the person who does people like I think Zagreus, Hades, Skelly, and then some of the gods like Zeus. That's all I think one person.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like
Wait, who did you say?
I think the person who played like Skelly.
Yeah. He also plays Zagreus and Zeus. Yeah.
Yeah, Zagreus and Zeus, and I also think Hades.
I'm not sure about that. Let me check. I can actually pull this up. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Zagreus. Voiced by Darren Korb. Okay. Oh, wait. This is a page entirely for him. Shit. Hades. Nope, that's Logan Cunningham. He does voice Skelly. So let me see here. Let me see. Zeus. Peter Canaves. Hades and Poseidon are the same person.
Okay.
Let me see. Ares and Dionysus are the same person.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Like Logan Cunningham plays Hades, Poseidon, Achilles, Asterion, or not Asterius, and the Storyteller.
I'm checking here. Charon. God dang it, I forgot what his name was again. Darren Korb. Thank you. Hades is also Charon.
Yep.
Let me see here. It looks like the only other Achilles is also Hades' voice actor.
I just looked it up. There's 4. I'm looking it up on IMDb. There's 4 people credited for Cerberus.
Of course. Orpheus, when he's singing specifically, is Zagreus.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Layla Burzins, I believe is her name, plays Demeter and Persephone.
Yeah. Hades is also Asterius and the narrator.
Mm-hmm. Cyrus
And
Namati plays Ares, Dionysus, and Theseus.
yeah, so it looks like Zagreus' voice actor only plays him and
Him and
him and
Skelly.
Skelly, although
Yeah.
he does voice someone else in Hades too.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. And I think didn't like oh my god, Darren Korb, didn't he do the music for Hades?
Did he? I have no clue. Let's look it up.
All right,
Hades composer. Yes, Darren Korb.
yeah, holy shit. And I think like yeah, oh my god, like that's it's just it's that it's just at the end of the day it's just like it goes to show that yeah, I to be fair, like this has more people that was working on this game in terms of like acting and whatnot than I gave it credit for. But even then, it's just like there's a number of people that played multiple roles and multiple characters. Like it's impressive just the range. Like the fact of like I think I'm looking here like Andrew Marks plays Hermes, but he also plays Sisyphus. And
Yeah,
I swear to God, I could not. I've met both of them a number of times. Could not tell that was the same actor.
yeah. The voice acting, like the voice acting is so freaking. It's so freaking top notch.
Oh yeah, like it's like I mean, if this was more of like another game, I think like a more AAA title, like I think if this was done by the same people who did, I guess like Fire Emblem, I would half expect the usual like big name people who have done stuff for like JRPGs and whatnot and other anime-esque works and whatnot to come in. And yeah, I would have absolutely given it. But the fact that like to its credit, like I've never heard of really any of these people until Hades. And the fact of them pulling out this talent is just it blows my mind. And that's I think that's what I love most about seeing like voice acting and everything. Like cuz yeah, like you can pull up I don't know like this game or that game is like oh yeah this actor on YouTube, this actor was a big name on YouTube, or like hearing Gianni Matrigano and Ultra Kill, it's just like yeah, it's like it's good to hear he's Ultra Kill, but it's Gianni, I already know it's gonna be good.
Yeah, we already know Gianni. Gianni
Yeah,
already kicks massive amounts of ass.
yeah, and then you just go this game, who the fuck is Darren Korb? Oh, that's who the fuck Darren Korb is.
Then again, it's also like, not a lot of people actually know Gianni, except the boomer shooter crowd.
Yeah, that like it's
I'm actually really happy he's gotten a role as Satan in Anton Blast.
yeah. Like, there's a number of actors and actresses I could pull, and we could do that all day. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's just like it doesn't change the fact that this game, from its acting, from its music, hell, from its sound design, is just top notch. Like, it's interesting because like you go from like it's. I think there's a number of games that are sort of like, in my opinion, don't really have like a lot of great understanding with sound design in its own way, like in terms of making it feel genuinely like a fleshed out world in its own way, because I don't think a lot of people, to its credit, neither do I, but I don't think a lot of people give credit to where it's due in terms of atmospheric sounds and it being like just subconsciously making it feel right, and just the little details that the people behind this went into going for. All right, this is how Tartarus sounds. This is how Asphodel sounds. This is how these different chambers sound. Like, that's credit where it's due. Like, oh my god, there's so much. It's the more I talk about it, the more it just blows my mind how much work is put into this game. And even then, it's just like, it blows my mind just how much there is to talk about it. Like, oh my god, like, the fact of this game actually adding in, like, little details like the Erebus gates. Like, that's a nice touch of detail. Like, one of the challenges is just like, don't get hit and you get a reward. If you get hit, well, tough shit, here's just some leaves.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just
Oh, speaking of those Erebus gates, I love that the reward for getting them, I mean, the what you get for failing them,
yeah.
has its own lore entry, and you actually have to A, go into Erebus gates, and B, fail them in order to get it.
Yeah.
Like, you are rewarded for failure. Maybe you're still given an item that only increases your HP by 1, but
Sure.
you're still getting something out of it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a big thing too. Is like we were talking about how this game doesn't really feel like it wants to waste your time. Like everything in this feels legitimately like even when you fail, you still get something. It like it's copium in the best way possible. Like even like something as much of a you could argue as a time waste, like speed running this game, where if you don't get it at a certain time, you just
Yeah.
teleported right back. Like even then, that is rewarding of itself because then you go, all right. So note to self, let's try this again. Let's try this. Let's try this differently. Like there's something to be had in failure, and that's why I think I love most about Hades. Oh man, and
Well, and it's also like if you're doing something like a speed run and you're going fast, fucking Hermes will pick up on it.
yeah,
And like even like bosses like Hades himself will go, "You've gotten up here faster than before, boy." Little things like that, just little things that the game knows what you're doing and goes, "Hey, we see you. Hey, finger guns."
yeah, and oh my god, like you mentioned that. Like there was one run where it was just like I forget if this was like one of my first times playing it, but there was one run where it was like I was one hit away from death. I get to Hades, and it's just like, so you come here without any reserves, any items to help revive you, and yet you still challenge me. It's just like I like that that game even has that prepared. Oh my
Yeah.
god, we haven't even talked about after you basically bring back Persephone, the game goes, okay, we need to come up with backstories. At first, it's like, all right, you tend to the garden in Persephone, and at some point, it just goes, all right, whatever. And then, I've played and beaten Hades so many times. At some point, they just said, all right, we give up. He dies. Game over.
Yeah. In fact, there's even one where beat it a certain number of times, the narrator goes, "The prince of the underworld may think that I have run out of ways to
Yeah!
describe his horrible demise, but sadly he is mistaken." And then that's all you get.
I love that so much. It's just like, yeah, you may think like it's just like at that point, it's just at back of my head, I was questioning, okay, how many did they like? They have got to run out of this eventually. You think we're gonna run out? No, we have more. Oh man, I think. Wasn't there one where it's like he got, I don't know, jump scared by something and that caused him to die? I don't know. There's probably
Yeah, like, I think it was something like, um, damn it,
oh man, there's so many.
like a bug or a lizard jumps at him out of a tree, and he has a heart attack and dies. Like, let me see here.
It's just like Looney Tunes sometimes. I think he actually got hit with a fucking rock on the head once.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let me see here. Let me see. Here's some of my favorites.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to like do the whole here's what the narrator says like I did for this. It's just he's been run over by a chariot. He smelled a flower that he's inadvertently allergic to. Trying to make friends with with a venomous snake. Getting gored by an angry goat. slipping on an exotic yellow fruit of unknown origins, stepping on a farm implement and smacking himself in the face, becoming bored to death by the mundanity of the surface world, stepping on a cactus, thinking about his previous death so hard he dies, learning that the run was all just a dream, but dying was real, shouting in the mountains to hear the echo, only to cause an avalanche that flattens him. Some other way that is very humiliating, you will just need to take the narrator's word for it. And just killing Zagreus for thinking the narrator has run out of ways to kill him.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god. Oh man, just... Fuck. It's just the attention to detail in this game, and also, like... The music is just so good. Like...
Oh yeah.
Personally, I'm a fan of adaptive music. Like, I love when games go out of their way to go, like, alright, we have a full track here, but instead of going track 1, fade in, track 2, now we're gonna have a segment of this track, and then switch over to another part of the segment. And I really love the fact that this game goes all out for this. And not only that, it has, like, again, for the Path to Punishment, there's 2 tracks for Hades' final boss theme, but the fact that they flow so well into one another is just... It just goes to show, like, again, this music is fucking beautiful. It's like, no wonder why they came out with the soundtrack for this.
Man, you're talking to the KI superfan. I love me a dynamic soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Like... Just there was at some point it just became a game of like, let's see if I can get this particular track. Like, I love getting, I think it's called Out of Tartarus. I love getting that track. It was the track, I think the one that they released with the initial trailer that they did, where Zagreus is killing Lerny, but then just dies. Like that track I love so much out of it. Just that riff, that dun da 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 dun da 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 da, just that riff just goes so hard, and I love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh man, and then there's like, we're talking about like this all so much, and then there's also so much to like. The characters is a conversation in and of itself. It's just like. This game is just, I cannot stress how much I love it, but, like, this game essentially, like, I think what I love most about it is the protagonist in and of himself, and how it goes from being this story about, basically, like, yeah, there's this kid he wants to see his mom, but there's also subtext to, like, even him doing this, where it's just, like, he has a reunion with his ex, like going into like the chambers that he was like closed off to. he basically, like, to the other shades and whatnot, he comes off as just this rich boy and whatnot. And he kind of is, but
as he goes on, he really starts to learn to focus on the people around him. Yeah. Like, that's what I like the most about Zagreus.
Yeah,
the fact that he goes, look, I understand the people that I'm kind of fucking things up for a lot of people, but I just can't, like, sit back and watch Orpheus just sit there and be a sad sack, or, you know, who God knows how long Sisyphus has been pushing that boulder. Can we just give the man a break?
Yeah.
Etc., etc., etc. Like, I actually like that Zagreus is like this rich boy, pretty boy, who just is so damn stubborn that he refuses to keep his nose out of other people's issues.
Yeah, and it's just like... And that's the thing, too. It's just like... For example, like him going to Persephone. At first it starts off with, yeah, you, like, Dad, you have to let me go see my mom. But eventually it turns into, oh God, like... Is it even right to do this? Should I even be going seeing her? Wait, no, I should absolutely be going to see her. Because at some point it just became, oh, it might be, it's like, oh, you're reuniting, like, with your mom and everything. And turns to, this is probably not a great idea because what if the gods hear about this and then they piece two and two together and realize you've been lying to them. It more and more and more to the point where it's like Hades goes from being this authoritative figure that you're in opposition to someone who you realize actually has legitimate intentions and actually has a legitimate heart. To the point where when you bring Persephone back, no longer is like the way to keep this game going is just like, no, now this is your job. This is your actual duty where you're actually testing Hades' security measures. You're actually trying to get out and see just how much the security needs to be like buffed up or just where the flaws in the security are. Like, I love that as their write-up for, yeah, you can keep playing. And also, it is definitely an attention to detail where it's just like, it's clear that Hades is a good father. He's just not the best with expressing it.
And he's also incredibly stubborn.
He is incredibly stubborn. Like, I think the thing that, like, most notably when it was still in the early stages, was, like, Zacharias put it as just, like, so, the gods just gave you Persephone, like, as a consolation prize. And he takes offense to this, but the next time you go up to it, he admits, like, yeah, they did, and legitimately, I wasn't happy about it, but there was something in the air, and we just kind of fell for one another. And then we had a kid, and ultimately, it seemed like you had died, but Nyx actually helped out, and you actually turned out to be alive. Like, more and more and more, it's just, like, there's more things to be had with the characters, like, and even then, it's just, like, through Zagreus's, like, I guess defiling his father's orders and everything, in its own way, it turns out for the best because it repatches connections with certain people like Megara and Thanatos.
Yeah. Zagreus is a wonderful character, and I would argue he's one of the like top 5 best, honestly, probably even in the top 3 best written game characters in the world, in history.
Yeah, honestly, like
Zagreus is a multifaceted, incredible protagonist who does go through this big story of not just finding his mother, but also fixing the problems that led to his mom to exile herself in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to be said about writing either, like, writing self-aware or sassy and smug characters. And a lot of times, like, I think, and this is a problem I have with a lot of media nowadays, is, like, people try to take, like, a lot of writers try to take after the Rick and Morty approach, where you have this character who's just either self-aware or self-absorbed and everything, and just calls attention to every little detail, it's not having any of it. Whereas with, I think, Rick and Morty, it sort of works from time to time. Other stories, like, it just feels like, oh, it's just cool to be that asshole. Whereas with Zagreus, like, the amount of times you die and go over to Hypnos, like, hey, have you tried not dying? Huh, I haven't thought about that. Maybe I'll try that next time. Just like just the amount of sarcasm and sass that Zagreus has is charming, but it's not to the point where it is roll your eyes at, kind of. Like, I think the one thing I like most is the Skelly statue challenges, where it's just like, the first challenge is just like, what is this? Hey, it's a statue of me, oh boy. So, let me guess, it's just like, are these statues, like, let me guess, it's just like, that's all I'm gonna get for a statue? It's just like, hey, isn't it worth it? I don't know. Second statue, it's just another statue of Skelly. It's just like, so let me guess, you're just asking me to do more Pact of Punishments just so I can get more statues of you. Well, we can put it that way. I really like, too, though, is that this goes to showing how fully fleshed out Zagreus' character is. That when he gets to the third one, you expect him to be, like, I imagine some people would expect him to be like, oh, great, this is just a waste of my time, but No, he's actually like blown away by the statue. He actually loves it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show it's just like the difference between characters you can sort of self-insert or project yourselves onto and characters that are legitimately their own characters. I love it. And like, oh my god.
That actually brings me to the next part. Like, we were talking about Chaos and how he feels like this otherworldly demon from beyond the edge of time, which he is.
Yeah.
But he's also still very much human.
Mm-hmm.
He still loves his children, and he still wants to be a part of their lives. He just doesn't really have a way to express it because, well, he's Chaos.
Yeah, and I think that's something I like most about it too, is when stories go out of the way to make these almighty denizens, these deities, these eldritch horror creatures, so on and so forth, right? And then they go, instead of having them be like just overbearing, just completely like all knowing and everything. Now, sometimes these characters are just susceptible to ignorance as much as anyone else, and Chaos being the first of anyone, being a prime example of someone who is in his own ways a decent person who keeps to himself, but is just incredibly ignorant mixed with curiosity. I think is a great take for that character.
Yeah.
Man, I like I think again, it's just like back to the whole thing on Zagreus. It's just like there is so much love to be had. Like I recently came back and I finally got to that whole message where you figure out who hired Skelly. And I love the message where it's just like, all right, Skelly, if you don't tell me, we're not going to be fighting anymore. You can't be, you gotta be joking, right, Boyle? It's like, I'm serious, Skelly. You tell me who hired you now, or I swear it'll be nothing but playful and wholesome times between the both of us. All right. I love that so much. Oh my god.
Yes. And honestly, there's also just like little bits that remind you that even though these people are like gods of various domains, they are still people.
Yeah.
Like honestly, Hypnos is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. I love that. It's just like, on one hand, like I was thinking when he was like when starting out, like, oh, just Hypnos is just being an asshole to Zagreus, because no, he's just kind of a smug asshole. He's just kind of a smug asshole where it's just like,
yes,
Thanatos and Nyx will get on him about his duties, and it's just like, yeah, I promise I'm doing it. Go back to sleeping. Just this cast is wonderful. I love it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other things.
I mean, there are plenty of other things. I think it's more so like, I think personally for me, it's more so it's just like what like, it's not so more so it's like going into. I think it's trying to find like other stuff that where it's just like we can talk about for a while, but I mean, like I guess I heard this. We haven't even talked about Medusa. Like,
oh man, Dusa, don't even get me started at don't even get me started on Best Girl.
I think what's interesting is that you can actually lock yourself out of her quote unquote romance route.
Honestly, I was so quick to give her all my nectar as soon as possible. I got it.
Personally, for me, like I had been more of a fan. Personally, I had been sort of a honestly kind of a. I had a bit of like I was sort of infatuated with Thanatos, honestly. So I kind of went for that, but yeah, like I mean, I think it's really interesting because even in terms of like side characters and whatnot in Best Girl, it's like there's a lot. There's even some conversations to be had. Like you can tell like she's incredibly timid and nervous around Zagreus, sure. But when they actually have conversations, like there's one point where it's just like So, Medusa, I noticed there's been a bunch of other snake-headed women who have been attacking an Asphodel. Like, you don't hold any bad feelings about me attacking them and killing them, right? Oh no, it's just like they're like and she basically points out that not all snake-headed women are alike. That she's kind of her own person, and that ultimately it's just like, yeah, it's just like they're ultimately they're doing their own thing, and she doesn't speak on behalf of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like little details and everything. Like I like so much can tell you about how much time I spend in this game, because like I will every now and then just stand in the chamber of the Hall of Hades and just watch what happens, and just see like Hades listen to the Shade's concerns or complaints and just go next, denied, next, denied, next.
Sometimes he'll say granted,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, I guess the one thing I would want to see, I guess, is just like how that conversation goes. It's just like input for this, or Shade says this, this, and this, and it's just like, granted. It's just like, fine, this time. And like, I'm interested. It's just like it's like just again the attention to detail and everything that they didn't have to do but they did is just so great. And oh man, I guess I've been holding off on this, but I guess more so I guess we can talk about the favorites. So I guess in your opinion, who are your favorite characters?
Oh, jeez. Let me see. I like Hypnos. Hypnos is really fun. And I don't know, he's just this big ray of sunshine in the House of Hades. That's always really nice. It's hard to pin down a character whom I just like, because every character has something to like.
Yeah.
And Nyx is incredible. Thanatos is a fucking dork. Dusa is, of course, best girl. Skelly is always fun, even when when you start exhausting his lines.
Yeah.
But it's still just really every character. But geez,
Yeah. I feel the same, but if I had to boil it down personally, I think Nyx and Persephone. Nyx definitely is like best mother figure. Persephone is one of the best moms. Thanatos is, I love Thanatos. Dionysus, life of the party. Artemis, I love her so much. I love Artemis so much. Hades is a great, is honestly a great character and a really fully fleshed out character. Hypnos, yep, I love him. He's just such a great character. Skelly is great. Charon, interestingly enough, I really enjoy. Like,
I actually really love Charon, because it's like you level up your affection for him, and he just starts leaving a bag of gold outside.
Yeah. And
you grab it, and he initiates what to most people is probably the hardest boss fight in the game.
It's not,
and it's it's no like third form. It's no third form Hades, and it's honestly I don't even think it matches up to Extreme Measures Asterius and Thebes.
Yeah, which
because that's just fucking annoying.
Yeah, which I still find it funny. Which, like, the time period supposedly that this is supposed to take in, these guys already have a fucking Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Made out of gold. I'm just like, okay.
No, hang on. They don't just have Gatling guns. They have Gatling guns, yes, made out of gold, mounted on a motorized chariot with underslung grenade launcher.
Yeah, like, just like, okay, sure. But, oh my god, it's like, I think...
let me see. Let me see. I was gonna say, oh yeah, if you die to him, everyone mocks you for like stealing from the ferryman. But like, if you win, it's like, um, so I picked a fight with him and he won, and is this gonna catch up to me? And Nyx is just like, no, he probably thought that was very fun. Do entertain him once in a while.
And also Hermes is just like, yeah, I had a prophecy. So don't tell anyone, but we placed a bet where you would actually beat Cara on 2-1. It's just like at that point, it's basically just the game going, yeah, let's just do this. Oh man, it's just, I just, oh god, that reminds me. It's just like with Asterius. Like at some point, I don't remember when this. I don't know exactly when this triggers, but at some point, I just stuck around, went around the crowd, and it was just like, wait, oh, I got a fan.
Yeah.
I like that little detail. And also, oh my god, the satyr hunt, and the fact that this game, like, it couldn't be any more obvious they knew what they were doing. But the tiny vermin,
Yes.
it's just one, even without saying it, it is just one giant. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, die to this. I fucking dare you. And I died to him the first time, and I was fully expecting hypnosis. Wait, this isn't right. It says you got killed by a tiny vermin. Just like, yeah, laugh it up.
That thing is terrifying. I'm sorry. Tiny little rat comes out of the ground and just basically lets out a Godzilla screech at you.
Yeah.
Nah, fam. Miss me with that. I would piss myself too.
Oh man, and oh, it's just. I would honestly have to say it's just. I guess the one thing that comes to mind now in terms of like what to talk about is honestly, like some of your favorite builds.
Oh, builds. Geez. The thing is, I don't really go in for a build. I have been tempted to do some things with that Windet has shown.
Yeah,
I really should look up some videos on some good on some good builds, because
maybe I should.
one of the few things I don't have in the faded list of minor prophecies is all the duo boons.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten some crazy. I love Dionysus. I love basically anything to do with Dionysus. Dionysus is overpowered.
Yeah, maybe I should rephrase the question. Like favorite boons and whatnot to take in runs.
Support fire.
Yeah, support fire is fucking great.
Support fire is freaking well. Actually, no. It's great on anything that's rapid fire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something I like. That what weapon you're carrying will actually very much change what boons you go for.
Yeah.
Like, you're rocking the gun or the fist or the bow, or even sometimes the or the shield if you're using the aspect of Zeus.
Yep.
Just support fire is god tier. If you're using the bow, if you're using the sword, the spear, less so.
Yeah. Like,
but it's also like I'm not really a fan of I've got to be honest, most of Poseidon's standard boons don't do it for me.
yeah, honestly, I know it's supposed to be like, it takes damage for knockback and then rupture, but it's just like, I guess, but I mean, when you compare it to characters like Dionysus, Demeter, even Zeus and Aphrodite, like, when you compare it to those other characters, Poseidon's not really that great of a choice, honestly, in my book.
Yeah. I like a lot of Poseidon's supporting boons. Like, like the thing is, I shouldn't bring this up because it has to do with Hades too, but they actually nerfed Poseidon in Hades too. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. I mean, personally, for me, like, to this day, my favorite run was the day when it's just like I decided to try out Zeus's shield for the first time. I get, I come across a boon for Ares where I get to use his special, and I was just like, wait, Ares is special with this shield, and then I am just running circles around Electo, and she is just dying to it, and I'm just like, this is great. And
Oh
then
yeah.
that mixed with support fire, I was just. And then later I would find out that Ares and Aphrodite have a combo where the more of Ares's like special effect that enemies will take, if it's combined with Aphrodite's charm or weak, it's just a continuous chain, and it's just like I love this so much. I think that's what I love so much about like just going with different boons and everything, and not always sticking to the same ones. It's just experimenting and learning just like what dual boons you can come up with, like for Artemis and Demeter. Like if you get Demeter's cast, it's okay, but if you get Artemis's duo, it like the cast tracks faster. Like that is
Yeah.
something I legitimately love. It's just like that the game gives you these tools, and then it's just like it in its own way encourages you to explore and get creative more to find other stuff that you actually can they actually can combine together, and sometimes it just fucking works, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite runs I got was it was absolutely one I had with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is my favorite boon is my favorite aspect in the game.
Yeah.
But oh, I had this one run. It was incredible. I
Mm-hmm.
had Dionysus and Demeter on my cast for one.
Mm-hmm.
I had I had Demeter, I my
I
special,
yeah.
so I would just rip them apart with the freaking Doom
Mm-hmm.
and the slowness and the DOT and I didn't have a single duo boon, and it's what I went into third phase Hades with.
Hmm. Okay.
And it was delicious.
Yeah. I just I think one of my favorite like runs of Hades essentially it was with like oh man, like I think the combination I like to go with for like Hades, if it's like a normal playthrough with no patch of punishment, the style I like to run with is like Athena's. It's some boon from Athena. Sometimes it's the dash mostly.
Yeah, the
Uh,
dash is the best boon on
the
Athena.
dash, and then I will go with Artemis and Demeter, and then maybe a fourth one. But those are the three I go with, and mainly because like I like there's a boon where it's just like if you have no death defied, your health regens, and it's just like I don't know. That's a build I like to. I guess a build. That's something I like to run with, and sometimes, and it works. Sometimes I'll switch it up
Yeah,
though, because I figured out like because when I went to Pact of Punishment, realized that doesn't mean shit. It like I actually have to change things up, and then I did, and in Pact of Punishment runs, I find myself more accustomed to Dionysus and Aphrodite and Ares.
yeah. Let me see. Let me see. I was gonna.
No, take your time.
Darn, I had this thought and I lost it. It was just oh yeah, just
Okay.
a little touch that I really like that is really freaking funny.
Hmm.
It's that the health items are fast food.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's such
right.
a tiny little touch that just it really just you'd think it would just like you'd think it would take you completely out of it. Like euros, I mean that's Greek, but like is that really like historically accurate with the foil wrapper? And then you get the bigger version and it comes with French fries, and it's like,
Yep.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
It says, I don't know about that one. Well, do you want health? Yes, but I take it.
But it's such a and then it's like you see this being sold in Charon's shop, and I'm
Yep.
just thinking, and I cannot help but think of Charon in like the little paper hat. Grrr.
McCarons!
McCarons, there you go. No, 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 even better,
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
McSticks.
Mix 6. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. We it. Oh man, it's like there's so much to talk about with this game. It's just great. I mean, like it is just it's just amazing. Just this game. I think but ultimately I think we do honestly at this point I think it's a good enough note. It's like ultimately anything you want to close off for final thoughts about Hades?
Uh, it's one of the greats.
Yeah.
And I think everyone was satisfied with the way it had gone, the way it, because Supergiant never does sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Never does sequels, never does spin-offs. They always come out with some brand new, absolutely insane project. And now we're getting Hades 2. And to me that's absolutely insane.
I have a lot to talk about Hades 2, and honestly, I want to like that's a talking point that I want to get to because I feel like I'll talk about it when we get to it. But for me personally, I mean, I like this above all else was I guess my first roguelike or roguelite, whichever.
It was my first real one. You know, I played
Yeah.
Isaac, but that's an entirely different experience.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the first one I played, and like I had like it has changed my perspective on gameplay difficulty and the idea of failure so much because I like legitimately I have this is it's gonna sound weird to out of context, but I have never felt more happier about failing a game with this. Other games, like it doesn't matter if it is Psychonauts, it doesn't matter if it is Def Jam Fight for New York, it doesn't matter if it is Dark Souls. Like, I will feel legitimately pissed off at a certain point if I lose enough times. But with Hades, it is legitimately like, it feels like that failure was just like, okay, let's try this again. And I try it again, and this time around, I actually get somewhere. Even if I fail to the same bosses, like, I would be failing to Hades multiple times, but every single time I come back, I know to watch out for this, and every time it works, but I don't fail because I forgot, or I didn't know, or I tried doing this and it works. Essentially, there's, I can't not say this, but essentially, this game essentially makes me, like, I don't fail in the same way of Darkside Phil. There's nowhere else to put it. I don't fail in the same way of Darkside Phil, where, like, even if I know the game and everything, like, anything new or anything that caught me off guard, or anything where it's just, like, I legitimately is my mistake, I feel it come back to haunt me, as opposed to games that feel legitimately shitty for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No game before or after has made me think, damn, it feels good to die.
Yeah,
like,
honestly.
Like, the closest thing I can come to is a very polished platformer, you know, where you never feel like death is your fault.
Yeah.
But Hades does a completely different thing where it's like, whoop, time to cash out.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. But yeah, I think for this is going to be doing it. For everyone else, I mean, we're going to be doing this, we're going to try, I think, do this in one go, but for everyone else, yeah, stay tuned for our conversations on Hades 2, which, I think formula-wise, I'm going to come out with it week by week. So, just to sort of, just to pace things out and everything, because I feel like if I do this all at once, it's just going to be a little overbearing. It's just like, oh, wait, you want us to watch this, you want us to watch, like, these number of conversations in this short of time frame? Like, nah, like, keep it week to week, and that'll be good. But yeah, for everyone else, stay tuned for our conversation on Hades 2. And if this is where you want to stop and everything, uh, Dooms, if you want to plug anything for the good people, feel free to at this time.
Check out my husband Sony Shock on Twitter. He's doing really nice art for commissions. If you like The Binding of Isaac, he's done a bunch of art for that. Um, Twitter Sony_Shock. Um, he does a lot of good stuff, and we're saving up for a trip to Spain. So, if you want to help us out, hit us up there.
Okay, that's good to hear. And for me personally, if you want to support me financially, ko-fi.com/theartsocial. I am on Cara now. I am also on Artstation. If you want to tune in for some like party games or whatnot, tune into twitch.tv/Cafe Autumn. And if you want to stick around for more streams like these, or more streams and whatnot, if you want to stick around for more like podcast episodes, feel free to subscribe to this channel. But yeah, thank you all so much, everyone who's joining, and we will see you all next time. Take care and peace.
Peace.